Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this session of transportation engineering. In this session, we'll be seeing the topic level of service and highway capacity. In the previous session, we had seen how highway count, what is the importance of highway count, and what is the need for correct highway count, which is helpful in designing the good proper payment. Today, we'll be seeing what is level of service. So you can see here, road capacity is the maximum potential capacity of a given roadway. So basically road capacity is that capacity where the road can be used to the maximum extent. That is what is road capacity. It can be expressed in terms of vehicles per hour or per day. So this capacity can be calculated depending on our need. Either we calculate it for a day or else we calculate it for vehicles per hour also. So depending on the need. As I had told you, we calculate this for the whole year also, for 365 days, for 24 hours also. So depending on that, we'll be calculating the road capacity. You can see road capacity for the purpose of limiting traffic to reduce congestion or environmental problem. Basically, we want to know the capacity of the road so that we can reduce the congestion also. As you know, where we are living in urban areas, this is the biggest problem. The congestion is becoming a very big problem, and because of that the travel time is extended and there are many delays caused by it. So this is a point of concern we have, where we have to provide a good level of service where the traveler can travel to his destination without any problems, or rather you can specifically say without any congestion also. So this should be looked into it properly, and proper design has to be given. So today we'll be seeing what is the best level of service and what is the importance of it. You can see here the levels of service. You can see it is given as LOS-A, where it is given as free flow, and level of service B, it shows as a stable flow, and level of service C also stable flow is there, but still some interruptions are there in this in traveling. And level of service D also, you can see here it has been designated as A, B, C, D, E and F also, and E, you can see it is unstable flow. You can see B, C and D. Level of service B, C and D, it says flow is stable, but in level of service E there is unstable flow, and in level of service F it is forced flow. Let us see what does all this mean. In the level of service A, you can see the speed is greater than 55, where there is a stable flow is there, where there are no congestions and there is no problem. Then the speed can be maintained from 90 kilometers per hour also. The percentage time spent following is less than or equal to 35%. Whereas in level of service B, you can see the speed can be maintained greater than 50, that is 80 kilometers per hour also, and the percentage time spent following is less than or equal to 50%. And in level of service C, you can see in the further slides, you can very easily understand what does this A, B, C, D and E, F mean. Let us see this here first. So in the level of service C, the speed limit can be greater than 45 and up to 70 kilometers per hour, and the percent time spent following will be less than or equal to 65%. In the level of service D, you can see it is greater than 40, and the speed is can be maintained 60 kilometers per hour, and less than or equal to the percent time spent following is less than or equal to 80%. In level of service E, the speed is less than or equal to 40. You can just imagine here the speed is decreasing from level of service A to E. It is linearly decreasing, and the speed average speed can be maintained as 60 kilometers per hour, and the percentage time spent following, that is greater than 80. So greater than 80 means this is the time which is being lost in the traffic congestion. In the level of service F, you can see whenever flow rate exceeds the segment capacity. So rather this is the level of service which is the least, and where the vehicles cannot travel properly. It creates problem to the traveler. You can see here typically three parameters are used under this, and they are speed and travel, time, density and delay. So these are the parameters where we'll have to look what is the speed maintained, what is the travel time, and what is the density and the delay. So all these should be taken into consideration while classifying the level of services, either it is A to F. This is what the parameters have to be seen, whether the speed for which the lane has been designated, whether that speed is being maintained or not, and the travel time, whether the travel time is being maintained or not, or it is getting delayed. So density as well as delay, all these parameters are checked, and depending on that, the level of service is judged. You can see one of the important measure of service quality is the amount of time spent in travel. See, the best service quality is amount of time spent in travel. You can see all the states nowadays are connected with national highways. We have outer ring roads also. Why were these provided? Basically, these are provided. The basic need of these roads being provided are, we have to reduce the travel time. There shouldn't be many interruptions. There shouldn't be congestions. There should be free access from one place to the other place, so that the delay time is reduced, and the business purpose can be reached properly. Therefore, the speed and travel time are considered to be more effective in defining level of service of a facility. As I had told you, we have to see whether the speed which has been designated to a specific road, whether that speed is being maintained, and the travel time which is normally calculated, whether that travel time is reached or no, or there is a delay because of the congestion. That, depending on these parameters, the level of service will be classified. You can see density gives the proximity of other vehicles in the stream, since it affects the ability of the driver to plan in the traffic stream. It is also used to describe a level. So density also, if higher the density of the vehicles are there, the level of service will be coming down. So density also gives density also is a very big parameter which is helpful in assessing the level of service. So as I had told you, in the traffic count, we normally see what different types of vehicles enter into a lane, or you can specifically say the origin and the destination. And because of that, as the number of vehicles increase, the level of service can decrease. So you must have seen, therefore, to reduce this, to increase the level of service and to reduce congestion, outer ring roads or highways are being provided, so that the delay time can be reduced. You can see delay is a term that describes excess or unexpected time spent in travel. So this is the unexpected time we normally calculate from one point to the other point. We can reach to that destination within some specific time which we know. But what happens because of congestion? This travel time is extended, or that is delayed. So rather that creates a problem. Many specific delay measures are defined and used as MOEs in the highway capacity manual. You can see what is that, what are the different measures being adopted to reduce these delays. You can see here factors affecting level of service. As I had told you, speed and travel time. This is the first factor which is affecting the level of service. You can see traffic interruptions and restrictions. Traffic interruptions. Why are these traffic interruptions caused? Sometimes at some places we come across some bottlenecks, some area where it is being congested from both the sides. Because of that, you have traffic congestions, and sometimes this traffic congestions leads to a very long chain. So the traffic interruptions also affect the level of service. Freedom to travel with desired speed. The desired speed is also reduced. Sometimes if proper maintenance of a highway or a road is not done, this might reduce the speed of the vehicle for which it has been designed. You can see driver comfort and inconvenience. It causes inconvenience also. Basically, travel shouldn't be stressful. Convenience should be provided, but because of not proper maintenance also, sometimes this leads to inconvenience to the driver also. And the operating cost also increases. If you see some lanes are congested, you take the other lanes. You take even some long routes also to reach your destination. Thereby this increases your operating cost. You can see highway capacity manual. Travel speed and volume by capacity ratio is to distinguish between various level of service. So travel speed and the volume by capacity level. This will tell you what type of level of service is. The value of V by C ratio, that is volume by capacity ratio, can vary between 0 to 1 depending upon then travel speed and V by C ratio. HCM, Highway Capacity Manual, has defined 6 level of services, that is level A to level F, based on a graph between operating speed and volume by capacity ratio. So depending on this operating speed and volume by capacity ratio, we have defined different level of service from A to F. You can see here level of service A is very easy, it is a stable flow, and a little bit more it is level of service B is a little bit unstable, C is a little more unstable, D, E is are still they are unstable, but F is the first where the vehicles move from bumper to bumper. You can see this here, level of service A. It describes primarily free flow operations at the average travel speed, usually about 90% of free flow speed for the given street class. So basically this has been defined here. You can read this properly. You can just stop for some time and read all this. You can see usually about 70% in the level of service B. You can see usually about 70% of FFS for street class vehicles are completely unimpeded in their ability to maneuver a traffic stream. So it becomes very tough for the vehicles to maneuver, also to overtake also. In level of service C, it describes stable operations. However, ability to maneuver at the change lanes and mid-block locations may be more restricted than level of service B. And you can see the level of service D. The average travel speeds are more about 40% of free flow speed. Free flow FFS is free flow speed. And the level of service E, average travel speeds of 33% or less of the FFS. So it is reduced by 33%. And basically the level of service F, this is the one which intersection congestion is likely at critical signalized location with high delays, high volumes and extensive queuing. This is the worst level of service which has been designated as F. Let us see here. You can just understand from this figure here. It is very simple. Level of service A, you have free flow, and in the level of service B, you have reasonably free flow. In the C level of service C, you have a stable flow, and in the D level of service D, you are approaching to unstable flow. And finally, in the level of service E, you have unstable flow, and at the last, there is forced or breakdown flow, which leads to very big congestion. So you can see here, level of service A represents the zone of free flow. So in level of service A, you have very free flow. You don't have congestion, you don't have interruptions. The vehicle can travel very freely from one point to the other point. Here the traffic volume will be less, traffic will be experiencing free flow also. The drivers will be having the complete freedom to choose the desired speed. Yes, the desired speed can be chosen here because there is no interruptions. Even at maximum density for this level of service, the average spacing between vehicles is 167 meters. You can see the average spacing between one vehicle to other vehicle is 167 meters. Lane changes within the traffic stream as well as merging and diverging movements are made relatively easy. You can overtake and merge and diverge. It is very easy, level of service A. The effect of minor incidents and point breakdowns are easily aborted at this level. So the minor incidents and breakdowns also can be reduced here. Level of service B represents zone of reasonably free flow. Free flow speeds are still maintained at this. So free flow is still maintained at this level of service. The driver's freedom to choose the desired speed is only slightly restricted. Slightly it is restricted. Desired speed is slightly restricted in this service. The lowest average spacing between vehicles is 100 meters. As in LOSA, you had seen the spacing distance between vehicles was 167 meters, and here it is 100 meters. The effect of small incidents and point breakdowns are still easily contained. Even this can be contained in LOSB. Now in C, at level of service C, the presence of other vehicles begin to restrict their maneuverability within the traffic stream. So a little restrictions have started here in LOSC. You can see average speeds remains at or near the free flow speed level, but significant increase in driver alertness required. Alert driver should be alert at this point in this level of service C, and the desired speed cannot be maintained here. And the minimum average spacing between the vehicles ranges 67 meters. In LOSB it was 100 meters. Queues may be expected to form behind any significant. There are chances of forming of queues at some point also. Chances are there still. In LOSD, the average speed begins to decline with increasing flows. The average speed is decreasing here. Freedom to maneuver within the traffic stream is noticeably restricted. You can't maneuver also, and it is restricted also. At this level, density deteriorates more quickly with flow. As the flow increases, density also decreases. The spacing between the vehicles about 50 meters only. So you can just see in level of service A, it was 167 meters and it has come down to 50 meters here. As the traffic stream has little space to absorb disruption, minor incidents can lead to queuing up. A small minor incidents also leads to queuing up of vehicles also here. Some small breakdowns also can lead to a long queuing of vehicles here. In LOSE, at this level, the stream reaches its maximum density limit. So that stream has reached its maximum density limit. So there are no chances of maneuvering also, and any breakdown can lead to a very big queuing up of vehicles here. So it is extremely difficult. You can see maneuvering within the traffic stream becomes extremely difficult. Yes, because the density maximum, it has reached the maximum density limit. And F, level of service F, describes conditions in a queue that has formed behind a point of breakdown disruption. As vehicles shoot through the queue, there may be periods when they move quickly and others when they are stopped completely. There are chances of complete stoppage of vehicles also, or rather you can say the vehicles move by touching bumper to bumper also. Thus, this level of service is used to describe the point of breakdown. This is the point of breakdown of the traffic as well. Even though operation downstream of such a breakdown may appear good. Level of service F represents the region of forced flow having low speed. This is the forced flow. Rather you can see this is the whole congestion has been caused. There is no chance of maneuvering or coming out of this congestion. Now, what is uninterrupted flow? Uninterrupted flow is the flow of traffic in which there are no obstructions to the movement of vehicles along the road. You can understand from this term only there are no interruptions along the movement of the vehicles. Freeway is one example for this type of facility, one-way traffic, or you can say a freeway. In a freeway, when a vehicle enters a freeway, there is no need for the vehicle to stop anywhere till it leaves the freeway. Yes, you come across some freeways also where there are no interruptions at any point. There are three sections in a freeway: basic unit, weaving unit, and ramps. All these three units are there in a freeway. Vehicles will be entering the freeway through ramps. Ramps used for entering the freeway is called on ramps, and those used for exiting the freeway are called as off ramps. You can just entering and exiting ramps are called as on ramps and off ramps. Freeways generally have 4, 6 to 8 lane alignment. You can see they have 4 or 6 or 8 lane alignments. Multi-lanes also provide uninterrupted flow in many roads. They will be signalized as well as unsignalized intersection. You have signalized or unsignalized intersection, but the flow of traffic is free. These are called as uninterrupted flow. Now, what is interrupted flow? Interrupted flow refers to the condition when there is experience is signalized intersections, unsignalized intersections, arterials, etc. So when you come across some intersections and there are some signals also, and there are some at some places there are no signals also, you have some interruption in the free flow of the traffic. At signalized intersections, there will be some kind of active control, and the vehicle will have to stop or sometimes to reduce its speed, and the flow of traffic is interrupted. So to reduce the speed, the flow of traffic is also interrupted here. Thus the capacity is defined in terms of control delay in seconds per vehicle. Seconds per each vehicle, how many seconds is delay, that this is how it is calculated. Arterials are roads of long stretches with many intersections in between, and obviously there will be interruption to the traffic. As there are many interruptions in the arterial roads, so there are high chances of interruptions of traffic flow also here. Here the capacity is expressed in terms of average travel speed. Capacity, what does capacity mean? The average travel speed which has been designed. This is how it is designated. Example for pedestrian facilities, a provision of subway exclusively for the use of pedestrians. So pedestrian facility is also provided where the pedestrians can move over from the road, so they don't come across when vehicles are moving. Here the capacity may be expressed in terms of number of passengers moving from one place to the other place. In bus transit system, the buses have to stop at the bus base, and also it has to share the road with other vehicles also. Hence, the capacity will be affected by the control characteristics and the traffic conditions prevailing in the road. So, because of the bus base, as they are provided separately, there are chances of the capacity reducing, and there are chances of some interruption, and there are chances of congestion also. So, this should be designed properly, and the bus base should be given a separate lane or a separate side, you can say. Since trains have exclusive right of way, the capacity is strictly governed by the control characteristics. Trains are exclusively different, so there is no problem with that. It has two types of capacities: line capacity and station capacity. Line capacity is based on the number of tracks available between two stations. You come across sometimes you come across this situation where the train has to be stopped and some other train has to pass, leaving the pass over to the other track. So at that times also this train has to be delayed for some time. This happens sometime in railway also. Station capacity refers to the facilities available in the platform of the station and other facilities. So this is the capacity given by the station at the platform, whatever facilities it can provide. For uninterrupted flow of traffic, measure of effectiveness is density in freeways. Speed also becomes important in two-lane highways and multi-lane highways. So speed is a very big factor in getting an uninterrupted flow of traffic. If the speed is maintained properly, there are high chances of getting uninterrupted traffic flow. If the speed is delayed also, then it can lead to interrupted flows. In the case of uninterrupted flow, MOE is delay, measure of effectiveness. The delay of travel time becomes an important factor in calculating the capacity. As I had told you, if the speed is delayed, then there is a delay in travel time also. So highway capacity, you can just see traffic conditions. It refers to the traffic composition in the road, such as the mix of cars, trucks, buses, etc. in the stream. What does highway capacity mean? It is the mix of all the vehicles that are coming onto the road, and it is a mix of cars, trucks, buses, and etc. and different vehicles also. It also includes peaking characteristics, proportions of turning moments at intersections. Basically, I had told you. Peak hour count is also seen, because at the peak hour, what happens sometimes, just imagine if you must have seen around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, where people leave for their offices also, that it is time for school also. That is the peak hour sometimes, in which the buses and the cars and two-wheelers, everything come onto the road suddenly, leading to a very big congestion. So peak hour should be defined properly. Roadway characteristic, this points out to the geometric characteristics of the road. These include lane width, shoulder width, lane configuration, horizontal alignment and vertical alignment. Basically, roadway characteristics means the marking on the road, or the size of the road, you can see, or the carriageway width, the shoulder, what size of the shoulder should be, what size of the curb should be, how the alignment, horizontal and vertical alignment should be placed properly. Control conditions, this primarily applies to surface facilities and often refer to the signals and intersections. So signals at intersections also, these are the control conditions. If these are not provided properly, there might be a very big congestion at the intersection. Again, capacity can be defined for a point of uniform section. Capacity is estimated for segments having uniform conditions. Okay, points where these conditions change represent the boundaries where separate analysis may be required. For different things, separate analysis is required depending on what type of capacity is being measured. Capacity is the maximum flow rate that a facility can afford. So what is the capacity? The maximum flow which can be afforded by that road. That is called as capacity. This maximum flow rate is taken for the worst 15 minutes of the peak hours while finding out the capacity. So first you will have to clearly designate the peak hour. From that, the first 15 hour, from that 1 hour also, from that 60 minutes also, you will have to specifically define the worst 15 minutes within that peak hour. If that is calculated properly, we can come up with some suggestions where it can be, where this peak hour traffic jams can be reduced properly. So capacity is measured as a reasonably expected value and not the maximum flow rate ever observed in the facility. So it is a reasonably expected value, an expected value where the road has the maximum capacity. This is because the measured capacity at a single location will show significant variation day to day. As I had told you, from day to day there are different variations in the capacity. In the morning the full capacity can be measured, but in the afternoon that capacity might change. So day to day different capacity changes. Further, local driving habits also produce variations in the observed capacity. So there are variations because of observed capacity also. So highway capacity is very important. We need to know what exactly is the potential of that road, what all can, the maximum amount of vehicles, how much it can take. Okay, hope this is clear to you. I request all of you all to please go through the session and please ask me questions. If you can ask me questions in the comment box, I'll try to answer to you. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your patient hearing. Hope this session was informative to you. Thanks a lot.